what's up, everybody, and welcome back to KRSTV. This is your boy Kenny. And this video is really a heavy one. Even in light of the fact that Ricky Martin right now is facing charges, for violating his own nephew, who is 21 years old, and his name is Dennis Sanchez. And the funny thing about it, I watched this documentary 4th of July weekend, and this got reported on July 3rd, the day before Independence Day. And then the things that Ricky Martin is being accused of are the exact same things that was in this documentary. And I'm talking about Menudo, Forever Young. It's a documentary that's on HBO Max. I watched the whole thing. I think it's 4 parts. And man, that a lot was revealed about Menudo. But then this is like the typical formula that has been shared about with other boy bands like B2K, Backstreet Boys, NSYNC. It's really crazy that a lot of these boy bands are violated in this way. And the documentary really just showcased how Eduardo Diaz, who's the creator of Menudo, who started the group in Puerto Rico, and how it built a following in all of the Latin countries, and then it exploded in America. I mean, because I knew about Ricky Martin as a kid, watching the video Hold Me. They used to be on MTV all the time when I was little. So I remember Little Ricky. So by the time he had performed at the Grammys when he did the song Coupe de la Villa, or The Cup of Life, I knew who he was. And I remember I was watching the Grammys with family, and I actually knew the song because I heard the song before, because I used to always watch VH1. And while he's like literally performing it, and even in the Grammy audience, a lot of people didn't even know who Ricky Martin was. But after that performance, you knew who Ricky Martin was, and you didn't forget him. But I remember I was like literally, here we go, ale, 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 go, 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 ale, ale, ale. I was getting my life. And everybody's looking at me like I'm crazy. It's like, how the hell you know this song? I'm like, that's Ricky Martin. He used to be a part of Menudo. But then not realizing that, just watching this documentary, man, Menudo had a lot of skeletons in that closet. There were exploitation. There was, physical assaults. There was financial abuse, as well as sexual violations. And it's just mind-blowing, because these are kind of echoing the charges that Ricky is up with now, allegedly, because they're not due into court until, I think, Thursday the 21st. So right now, it's alleged, and I hope that Ricky is innocent of this. I mean, for one, the fact that you would do this to another person, but worse, you're doing this type of abuse to your own nephew. And remind, Ricky is now 50 years old, who's been married to his husband for 6 years, has 2 children, and you're being accused of something like this? And as I said, it's an accusation. It hasn't been proven. Their court date is not until Thursday, so I'm not saying Ricky did it. But hearing from how the way Ricky was in the group, it makes me question what's really popping. Because one of the guys mentioned that when Ricky was in the group, Ricky was kind of a bully. In that a lot of the new guys who come into the group, they get bullied by the older members. So he said that, Ricky made, and one of them was like, Ricky made my life hell. If Ricky was the husband, I was the wife. Anything Ricky said, I had to do. And if I didn't do it, I got dealt with, and that's pretty much the energy that he was given. And the sad thing about it, there were a lot of stories that were being exposed throughout this 4-part documentary series, you know, and how Eduardo literally pretty much, there was another Latin group that was very big. And I think it was 4 boys and a girl. But the group ended up disbanding because their parents wanted them to focus on their education. He felt that the parents were too involved. And then on top of it, they could have had a bigger appeal if the girl wasn't there. So instead of making it 4 boys and a girl, just make it all boys and let the girls be the fans. So he was very genius of how he did this. Even as far as how their clothes were, why they wore tight clothes, so therefore their masculine libido can be seen, you know. But then also it can be seen by some of the lurks behind closed doors. And then also the way that he even did the contracts, that the parents would have to relinquish some of their parental rights for their child to be in the group. And you know, he went after the most economically depraved families where for like a piece of change, they would like give their son to them thinking they're giving their son their greatest opportunity, not realizing that they threw their sons to the wolves. Because a lot of them said that it was literally like slavery. Like they would literally get a stipend. They were working nonstop all the time, but they weren't receiving the lion's share of the money. You know, it was like some of the earlier versions, because Menudo, I think, has been out since like the 70s. You know, Ricky, I think, joined in 84. You know, I was 1 year old at the time. And he pretty much was in the group until he was 16. Where normally, well, actually, no, he was in the group until he was 18. Normally, you're kicked out of the group at 16. So that's why they call it Forever Young, because they kept the lineup with young boys. I mean, it was kind of like a ring for pedophiles, because once they reached a certain age, they got rid of them and got newer younger boys to be in the group. And this was repetitive for years, you know, where one person gets kicked out, then a new younger boy comes in and takes his place. And it's just been like a repetitive cycle the entire time. And I'm watching this and I am like blown away with the stuff that was being shared. Like one of the guys had admitted that he had been violated 3 times by grown men, and that these grown men were always lurking around. And he said that even though Eduardo never did anything to me, but for the fact that these were friends of his, where there's smoke, there's fire. And then later on, it was being revealed all the stuff that Eduardo was doing. That Eduardo literally was treating those boys like they were his personal slaves. You know, he would work them to the bone, even if they were sick. Like there was this one of the boys, like he had like a health condition, and you literally saw the boy crying while he was singing because he was in that much pain, and yet he was still being made to work. Like, where are the child labor laws? Like, what the fuck is this? You know, so this is like pure exploitation. But then also for the fact that these young boys were, in an essence, being pimped out to these pedophiles who were surrounding them. This kind of makes sense to what Corey Feldman was saying, that as a kid, him and Corey Haim were surrounded by these type of people. You know, and, you know, a lot of them, you know, who are now adults are now coming forward and sharing their story. Like, there's one who recently came out, I think like 2014 or 2015, where he said he had a relationship with Eduardo Diaz, the creator of the group, and that he didn't even have the audition. He brought him in. And then this was like shocking, you know, the fact that one of them was Eduardo's personal boy toy. And it's just a shame that this stuff goes on, and that, you know, this is nothing new. I mean, so when I heard what Rasby was talking about with B2K, he pretty much said that this is kind of like the standard with boy bands. A lot of boy bands go through this. It's kind of like this ritual way of control and, making you submissive. And they use the fame and the glory to imprison you with this crap. And it's just like, wow, like this is really sad. And it's even more sad that, because definitely if this happened to some of the other boys, I'm pretty sure it may have happened to Ricky as well when he was starting off in the group. And now the victim has now become the victimizer himself. And we've seen this with R. Kelly. So it's like we're seeing the Puerto Rican version of what R. Kelly was dealing with. Just not en masse as what R. Kelly did, but just in essence, someone who was victimized who now victimizes others. And this is something that, yeah, I seriously hope that Ricky's innocent. But look, with the way things are looking, like with this whole things that was revealed in this Menudo documentary, it's startling, to say the least. Startling, upsetting, and just painful to watch that these young boys was going through this. And that some of them are still living with the pain of it. They even did Eduardo actually appeared on Christina. Christina was like the Mexican Oprah. I remember when Christina was on, and you would see her on Telenova. And he was there along with one of the former members of Menudo who was accusing him of all of these accusations, exploitation, physical abuse, sexual abuse, and all of these, and just pretty much, the fact that he was exploited and was violated while he was a member. And of course, Eduardo literally played politics and was like, "Oh, I wouldn't do such a thing," and really put on this very businessman, good guy role, and literally had all and literally Christina was on his side, because when you're a person with clout and you're a person who has a lot of connections, people are gonna gradually go to you, even if you're a dirty piece of shit. Here it is, you got this kid who's no longer in the group, so he's looking like, oh, he's just picking a fight because he's a has-been and he's no longer relevant. Like, no, this was a guy who was violated, who wasn't afraid to speak up. But the thing is, there was supposed to have been other members that were supposed to have been there with him, but they either were paid off or were too intimidated that they chose not to show up. So here was this guy was by himself, but he stood there alone with his dad and shared his pain. And then how this shit was a setup, here it is, he has a new version of Menudo in the audience, and then one of the mothers, who's one of the mother of the boys, stands up and is like, "Oh, Eduardo was really good for our child, and this is a great opportunity for our son, and he would never hurt these children. I mean, these children are doing so well." But then you see later on in the documentary, she a broken woman because she says that my son is not the same person, and there's a lot of stuff he won't even talk about to this day. But here it is, her ass was on TV. "Oh, Eduardo is an amazing person." And I'm like, bitch. So you practically threw your child to the wolves. And I'm pretty sure he dumped a little bit nice check on your lap, and you was just out here just singing his praises, doing exactly what he wanted you to do. So I was like, wow, that shit is wild. So I'm thinking that's what he did with a lot of the parents. He paid them a good, nice lump sum to get their kid, and once he got their kid, he put those kids through the ringer. Worked them to the point of exhaustion. Didn't compensate them well, and then to top it off, physically assaulted them, and even sexually assaulted them. You know, it's crazy. It's just really sick that the whole time people seeing this as this great act, not knowing that all of this sinister shit is going on behind closed doors. I mean, the reason why I want to talk about this is because not only in light of what Ricky Martin is being accused of currently by his own nephew, but the fact that male sexual abuse happens far more rampant than people want to give light to. I mean, we know that there are a lot of that girls get violated, but guys get violated in the same way. So this is not something we can take lightly or pretend that it doesn't happen, because it does. And sometimes people can never come back from it. I mean, and then not only top of it, they were also exposed to drugs, because 2 of the members got thrown out of the group because they got they got caught with possession at the airport. But the thing about it, where did they get the damn drugs? They were kids. Who the fuck? Where the fuck did they go to get drugs? Exactly, because when you in the industry, getting drugs is never a difficult thing. You got people literally giving it to you, like, here, enjoy, kill yourself. Come on. They literally pushing it on you, and they were literally pushing drugs on these children. Because it's a way of control. So I definitely encourage you guys to watch this documentary, because this documentary, I actually watched it when I was at my cousin's Drew's house, and I must say it blew me the fuck away. I was like, holy shit. Because there were people who were coming out, speaking out against Eduardo and what was happening to these kids. But because of Eduardo's connections, this guy was shut down, was thrown in prison, you know, and he was literally trying to liberate these children. But because this man has money, he has clout, he has connections, yeah, that wasn't going to happen. It's kind of the same thing with Lou Pearlman and Chris Stokes. When you get in that position and you got that much money and you got these many connections, you got people who will look the other way. That's just a reality. And that's what we saw in this situation, where people literally, because of their affiliation with him, they weren't going to touch it with a 10-foot pole. Or if they can't control the narrative, they want no part of it. Because Eduardo, when they reached out to him for this documentary, they didn't reach out to him. But then we also see that some of the members have come back together, and they pretty much had a Menudo reunion, and they're now doing touring. And they said that they had to send 3 lawyers to his ass to sit his ass down so that they can continue to perform. Because they said that without us, there would be no Menudo. Menudo was the boys. The Menudo was the act. You know, sadly, a whole bunch of sinister shit was happening, but you can't deny the talent, and you can't deny the pandemonium that came with that. I mean, the pandemonium that Menudo had was very, very, very reminiscent of the Beatles, the Supremes, the Jackson 5, you know, those kind of groups that literally had fans going crazy. Menudo had that effect. And, you know, B2K had that effect too. Backstreet Boys and NSYNC had that effect. But at what a cost, though? At what a cost? So that's what I have, y'all. Get down in those comments and let me know your thoughts on what was shared in this video. And if you've seen the documentary, get down in those comments and let me know your thoughts on it. And also share your thoughts on what's currently going on with Ricky Martin. He's innocent until proven guilty, and I am hoping that he's innocent. But then there's a lot of key things that are being pulled out, like with his former manager suing him for $3 million and saying that she got some dirty business that she can expose about him, is making you question what's really going on here. But that's what I got, y'all. So until next time, everybody, take care.